Hey everybody, it's tafony here once again, and today I am rambling about the Bastl Pizza. It is an 8 HP complex oscillator of sorts. It is FM, it is wave shaping, it is 3 digital oscillators. It is a lot of complex things that I am gonna attempt to cover here today. With that being said, though, this is not journalism. This is not sponsored or anything like that. I traded for this one locally here in Vancouver. Bastl didn't send it to me or anything like that. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. This is just my own blog about hardware, Eurorack, synthesizers, modular gear, music, synthesis, life, everything else. It's not journalism. I'm not trying to assess it for you or sell it to you. What I'm gonna do is explain FM algorithms poorly to you and make misconceptions about everything on board here. So, with all of that out of the way, more importantly than all of that, it sounds like this. So, let's get started with this one. So, oscilloscope is hooked up. This is going to be just straight Pizza to get started, how I like to start all of my complex oscillators. Now, I know that many of you are screaming right now to say, it's not a complex oscillator, it's a wave shaping oscillator, it's FM, it's all of these different things. And it is so many things. It's a complex wave shape source, right? I know there's a lot of confusion, at least with me, about what is complex oscillator, what isn't. When I think complex oscillator, I think analog to cores of usually triangle, with a wave folder and ring mod and amplitude mod capabilities, and usually a modulation bus. But what is the Pizza? Well, it's a digital version of a lot of those things, but it also does a lot of other things, and it is crazy deep. And I say that in both a positive way to say that, you know what, like, if you love depth, then there's so much in the Pizza to chew on. But this is my second time owning the Pizza. When I was brand new to Eurorack, I saw lots of videos and lots of people talking about the craziness of FM, and I got the Pizza and I had no idea how to contain this crazy thing, and I sold it. So that was nearly a year ago, and we're going to take a second swing at it. And with that being said, if you've watched this channel before, you are well aware that I am no analog subtractive, this isn't analog, but I'm no subtractive synthesis master. I'm just trying to make like a podcast of sorts and talk about things, explore them together, but maybe we can discover it together, and maybe I can share some of the perspectives on this that you would experience when you first get this, unless you're a master, which many of you in the comments will be. However, the Pizza, yes, I bounced off of it the first time. I'm hoping to come back to this a year later now with a lot more FM experience under my belt and hopefully understand some things about it. Now, what I like to usually do, we've got our sine wave, and I like to go through the panel in these videos. So let's hear our sine wave. Yes, that is a digital sine wave. It's not overly exciting. I'm not going to crank it up super loud just yet so we can hear it, but first you have your pitch knob. You know pitches, obviously. I don't know why it's not. Oh. So yeah, it can be in either octave, semitone, or detune mode. I'm going to leave it an octave for easy switching right now, but yeah, we're just listening to the main output, not a mix output. I think that also confused beginner me as well. That's like, well, all my other full voices have mix outputs. Why doesn't this oscillator without any of those ingredients not have it? So just to know, we'll start with the main output, and then I'll talk about the other stuff. So let's pitch it up a little bit so you can hear it more. That is our pitch setting. I just talked about the changing of the tune settings. Now you can hold it down to access some alt parameters for that as well. Not going to do that just yet. We will for some of the other things, but in our three oscillators, there's also FM, and you can assign it two different ways. To the left, it's ratios, and if you've experienced the digitone, it's kind of like how deep you want to go. And by that I mean how much modulation. There's more modulation applied the further you go. But this is controlled by a ratio selector here. So that's one, that's another, that's another, that's another. It's funny to see this on the oscilloscope, right? And like most people say, or at least this is definitely what I do, FM sometimes is trying to grasp at like what is going on. A lot of it is like just what sounds good, right? I don't have a deep understanding of what both of these illuminated means in terms of like, I think that it goes up in increments of a quarter, right? So I think this is 0.25 of the first one, then 0.5. I might be starting late on that, but the point is that like you get in here and you put your hands on it and explore it. Try and find what sounds good. So that is the ratio oscillator, but then there's also the octave oscillator. So I believe this will jump in perfect ratios of octaves, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the third modulation source. Now this can also be, if you really want a traditional source, I'm going to take the triangle output of the operat and patch it in the external input here, and you can use that here. So this is an LFO right now, but and again, how much of that FM do we want? But we still preserve our ratio oscillator as well, so you still have access to this. It doesn't matter if I unpatch this or what, but you can go with the external modulator. Now, so that's the external modulator, but there's also FM index, so if you want to use the internal source, I can send that index modulation with this index mod potentiometer. So my LFO is still going on the operat. If I send it negative, it's gonna do it that way. Or if I send it positive, it's gonna send it across them, right? Right, it's going into the other algorithm, which is absolute chaos. And this thing can get so heavily modulated that it's really nice to tame it with some filters and VCAs and stuff, obviously, but I want to demonstrate like what it is, and it being the pizza, like on board, right? So that's what that is. Now, you can do different octaves in the octave oscillator too, which will also be different ratios, right? It's not the ratio oscillator, but those are different ratios of carrier to modulator, right? I hope that makes any semblance of sense. Now, next section. This shape control can control one of the three knobs, or sorry, one of the three parameters. So it can either control the wave shaping section, but you have to pick one, which is definitely an advantage over, or this is definitely a disadvantage over like complex oscillators, but you can do a work around this, and I'll show you this in a second. So this is our wave shaping. To get into saw territory, at least on the panel, it shows that versus square. It doesn't seem to really work like that here, though. I guess I'm under FM right now. Hold on. Oh, do I need FM to do that? Hold on. Pulse? Okay. So that wave shaping doesn't affect the pulse section. Interesting. Oct? Does it? Okay. So this only... Oh, interesting. So I wonder if different algorithms in the main oscillator will affect this differently. Because this changes the shape of our modulator, right? So it is changing the final output because it's modulating it differently, right? But if we go into the pulse output, you can actually see the same thing on the panel. It's square to this side. It's... this is sawtooth or reverse saw? I can't remember. The shark tooth, right? This is the reverse saw. Anyway, if we get into that, there's also PWM over this if you want to do that, right? But what I was going to talk about before with the, so listen to the main one through, there is another way around this. So you select one, that was the wave shaping, this is the folding. Now, there is two types of wave shaping. There's a Buchla inspired one, and a unique one. And it's interesting to hear people talk about it's a wave shaping oscillator because the wave folder is just that, right? What's the difference between a wave shaping oscillator and an oscillator into a wave folder? I don't know. Maybe it's just to point out that it has both on board, but that's what that is. And then ring mod, so amplitude modulation. So what I have done with this so far, though, there's a control knob here. Now, there's both a control input and a control pot, and it's normalized to a default voltage. So what that means is you can use it without anything patched as a control, or I'm going to use my LFO again and assign that modulation there, right? Or negative. But mine isn't in the default setting. It is... Sorry, I need to turn things down here. Mine isn't in the default settings. You assign it by long pressing this. So I have the control assigned to the wavefold. So I am able to get... Hello? Control over the wavefold with this pot or an external source, and control over the wave shape with this slider. Because in the default, it's like this is set to the wavefold, and then you long press this to, the wave shape. Then you long press this to reassign your control to a different parameter. So let's do a little bit of modulation to the wave shaping, to the wave folding, and then I'll manually control my wave shaping, right? So it gets real crazy real quick. And that's what we love about FM, right? Oh, I hear some ring mod in there almost. Weird. Maybe that's just a perfect ratio? Using the octave oscillator? But, all of that being said, I think most of what you want to do when it comes to the pizza is mix out all of the outputs. So this is the pulse output. And you'll hear, I'm just going to show you that quick on the oscilloscope, follows this wave shaping output. So you can do PWM. I love my PWM. Let's do so with that. And I can reassign my LFO to the wave section to give myself some PWM. I love PWM. I'm sorry if that's really stupid, but I like it. Although it is not pulse width, I guess. It's kind of wobbling, right? Because I'm modifying the shape, not the pulse width. But here's my janky attempt at PWM. But I like that too. It's cool, right? So that's one. Let's mix back in our main. Let's go up an octave so you can hear them more clearly. And then we'll bring in our octave oscillator as well to really fatten this one up. And I'll just show you just the octave oscillator first. So again, it is also receiving this wave shaping, but we get control over its octave. So let's pitch it up an octave. So blended with the pulse, the square output. My wave shaping is not applied to those outputs. So let's mix in the one that is on the main output. That's harmonically rich. I usually mix in a little bit less of the other ones and just more main because I like to do some of that. FM. And like that's an exceptionally full sound to my ears, right? Like I quite like it. I feel like if you are curious about crazy concepts, deep concepts in modular, then the Pizza is going to be able to do all of them, right? I mean, there's amplitude modulation, there's ring modulation, there is, those things are both amplitude modulation, but anyway, you know what's up. There's the fold, there's the wave, there's different internal routings that I'm not going to cover that you can also sort of make your own envelopes and stuff on board. It's just to say that, like, it's tremendously compact and complicated, and I think if that's what you're after, the Pizza is going to deliver that depth that you seek. So now that we're listening to it drone on, I'm going to patch this out of here, and we're going to do a little bit of filter sweep. In the first demo, I did the steady state gate, but I think maybe we'll just do a little bit of a ladder filter so you can hear it. Yeah, it gets real crazy real quick. All right, I mean, endless endless wave shaping, endless oscillator exploring opportunities. I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.